Thank you. So, welcome this afternoon on this lovely day to celebrate the 10th anniversary of the Bristol Green Capital Partnership. And it's wonderful to have so many of you here. So, happy birthday to you all, 10 today. I'm not going to sing, and neither are you, but you can clap. That is actively encouraged. Thank you. So, 10 years in. My name is Chris Dunford. I am the Sustainability Engagement Manager for the At-Bristol Science Centre, where you are right now. I think I've met most of you before, and I look forward to chatting to you later on. At-Bristol is delighted to be hosting this event. I'm going to be taking us through the talks this afternoon. I have a clipboard, so nothing can possibly go wrong. And then I'll do the housekeeping first, the less exciting stuff of kind of toilets and drinks. So toilets are through the door over there. There is a drink station behind, but we will be breaking for a drink halfway through. So we will have a break during the talks, so don't worry too much about that. There's no fire alarms planned. If the fire alarm goes off, myself and the At-Bristol staff will leap into action and you'll be fine. It'll be all very exciting. We are filming the event today and taking photographs. If that's any concern for you, then please mention that to the team at the back there, located by the door on the welcome desk. Obviously, please have your phones and devices on silent, but you don't need to turn them off, because obviously we'd very much like you to be tweeting and using social media during the event, especially for those people who cannot be here with us today. So the Bristol Green Capital Partnership handle is on there, and the hashtag for the event is Bristol's Future. And on the tables in front of you, you will find the Wi-Fi login and the incredibly complicated Wi-Fi passcode. Very secure. So the other thing I wanted to mention is why here? Why is it a good event, a reason to hold it in at Bristol? Well, from my point of view, I wanted to tell you something about the sustainability and what we have in the building here. So the room that you're in right now, above your head, there are 208 solar panels, and they're saving 25 tons of CO2 a year. In the plant rooms around this room, keeping you ventilated, and on a day like today, cooled, we have building systems unique in the UK. We're using phase change technology and air source heat pumps on night electricity to cool you. There's a composter on the green roof over here, and a beehive on the green roof over there, and electric vehicle charging points in the car park. About half of you at some point during the day will be able to enjoy the waterless urinals in the toilets. Outside in the square, we have the energy tree from our Green Capital year and the drinking fountain Tap into Bristol, as well as the allotments out in Millennium Square and various learning and public engagement activities that we do on site and in the building around sustainability all year round. But perhaps more importantly, why we are here is where it all began. So 10 years ago today, in 2007, on the roof terrace outside, we had the signing of the Bristol Green Capital Partnership. And you've all come back 10 years later. The difference now is there's a lot more of you. So later on, we're going to take that same photo and recreate it with just how many of you there are today. We've been meeting here for the years since, and in 2014, a lot of you might remember we came for that big meeting where we organised the partnership action groups as well. So it seemed very fitting that we should return here 10 years later to At-Bristol, and obviously we held various events during Green Capital year itself. And looking forward and looking back is very much the theme for this afternoon. So we're going to start now with a kind of a view of where we are in the present, and then we're going to reflect. We're going to look back on where it all began. We're going to look back at all the wonderful things that have happened in the last 10 years, and then look forward in the second half of the event into the future and how you can all play a role in that. So with that in mind, starting with where are we now and where do we want to go, I'm very pleased to introduce to the stage Mohammed, Saddiq, the Bristol Green Capital Partnership CIC Chair and Managing Director of Geneco. Thank you.
Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and esteemed guests that we have here today. We're here because we have a unique partnership that is known across the world, the Bristol Green Capital Partnership that is celebrating its 10th anniversary celebrations today. And it gives me great pleasure as your chair to open the celebrations today. Now, before I do that, and it's not often that we do this, you will be aware that the CIC has a board, and on that board we have some quite amazing people who give up a huge amount of their time so generously, as well as providing a financial contribution, without which we probably would not be here today. So I'm going to do an introduction to each of them, so you don't need to stand up, and they're going to be terribly embarrassed by me doing this, but I think it's important that as members that you appreciate that we have some wonderful board members who really do look after the partnership's strategic direction. In no particular order, Ian Barrett from the Avon Wildlife Trust, David Mellor from Business West, Sam Roberts from Centre of Sustainable Energy, Jane Stevenson from Resource Futures, James Cleaton from Sustrans, Hugh Davis from Triodos Bank, Judith Squires from the University of Bristol, Jim Longhurst from the University of the West of England, and our non-company members, Joe Carey, who leads on the food theme, as well as Savita Custed, the elected director, Darren Hall, elected director, and invitees from the council, Zoe Wilcox and Alex Minshull. They do really amazing things to keep the board running, as well as supporting the executive team, Ian Townsend, the CEO, Vicky Woolley, who has helped organise most of the events today and has done, as usual, a brilliant job, and Claire Jacob, the development manager. Thank you. I know for you as board members, it is invariably an add-on to your already existing busy lives in your careers, your families, and volunteering for other volunteer events. And I think on behalf of the membership, thank you very much indeed, and indeed from me as your chair. Now, it's been quite an interesting few months, as I'm sure you will well be aware. The uncertainty that continues across the world with regard to even believing that climate change exists is quite unprecedented. You'll no doubt be aware that President Donald Trump decided to withdraw from the Paris Accord last month, and that sent shockwaves across the world. But you know what was quite amazing was not necessarily that decision that he made, which I think most of us around this room would think as being incredibly short-sighted. Some of you may even choose to use expletives to describe what that decision meant for you. But nevertheless, what was quite amazing and inspirational was the collective vision from a number of stakeholders around the world, that's including governments, businesses, that came together to show that despite that decision by that leader, that they would not move away from those commitments, and that's including many people from the UK. We mustn't forget either that the US, is the world's second largest emitter of carbon, just behind China. But yet, interestingly, I can remember Barack Obama giving a speech and giving the Chinese and the Indians a real hard time to say they weren't doing enough on dealing with climate change. Yet, ironically, just last month, both Beijing and New Delhi both reaffirmed their commitment to the Paris Agreement, and actually in India's case had gone one step further by saying that they were going to try and do everything they possibly could to reduce their reliance on coal for power production. We have an unprecedented number of very large organizations, Apple, Google, Tesla's, Microsoft of this world, who have all confirmed that they themselves feel that climate change is an urgent threat that requires a global effort to combat it. And so I think, despite that rather depressing statement by the leadership within the States, it is clear that there is a huge groundswell of opinion that is suggesting that, despite that, we will still continue in our journey to deal with climate change. And I guess today, when I'm stood in front of you, I look around with the number of people who have decided to make it to this event, despite the wonderful weather outside, which for me demonstrates the strengthened resolve that we all have to continue to champion and provide leadership to allow Bristol to become a sustainable city with a high quality of life for all. And what does that mean? Well, certainly the board and the membership have commented on what that means for the city. So we comment on the city itself being powered using sustainable energy and no one going cold at home. that the food we eat is good for people, good for the places, and good for the planet, where the nature itself is thriving and everyone has access to it, and that we are a zero-waste city, and where it's convenient and affordable for everyone to travel in a sustainable way. Now, when I say that, that is very much aspirational. There is still a huge amount of work that collectively we have to do, but it's clear that we have at least sight of where we want to go through our vision. Now, within our aim, we talk about this high quality of life for all. But what does that actually mean? And I'd just like to spend a few moments on what I think that means. Bristol itself, as a city, as you know, has been cited as having one of the strongest economies outside London. It's remained largely unscathed as a result of the recession and has benefited from being voted as one of the happiest cities in the UK with a thriving and diverse, vibrant culture. So if I just put a full stop at the end of that, you'd think we're in a good place. But I think that would be masking a real issue that we have within the city that we don't often talk about. And that is that we have Bristol, a side of Bristol, which has areas where they are within the 10% of the most deprived areas in the country. And why does that matter for us? Well, it matters greatly because if we genuinely believe in our vision of having a high quality of life for all, then it's very important that we reach out to those communities as well. And building on the success of the Skills Bridge programme, which was developed to equip the next generation of diverse leaders within the city, as well as the Green and Black Ambassadors programme that has been running successfully, and we continue to support that programme. And you'll hear a little bit more about that later. The board has agreed to roll out a high-quality work experience programme that will hopefully be open to hundreds of children, particularly from those difficult-to-reach, disadvantaged communities, to hopefully demonstrate that the partnership itself genuinely believes in the vision that it has and, crucially, is relevant to the society and the communities that we operate within. Vicky has taken on the challenge of helping pull together that programme, and no doubt will be writing to most of you over the coming months with an ask to have organisations open their doors to some of these young people. I could talk forever on some of the other wonderful, exciting things that are going on within the partnership, but that would be stealing the thunder of most of the presenters, and I think I would be very unpopular if I did that. So I will say that, we have just completed the Better Bristol campaign, the Healthy City Week, the Urban ID project, and the list goes on. There is a huge amount that is going on within the executive team, and it's worth just reminding you again that the team itself is a very small team, but they are incredibly effective at working and leveraging the partnership to do things collectively to make a genuine difference within our communities. So I'd just like to thank you all once again for making time to come here this afternoon. I hope you enjoy this afternoon's event as well as the evening session later on. And thank you very much for your heartfelt loyalty towards the partnership. And I hope if I'm not here in 10 years' time, somebody else is here in this room where it all started to talk about how wonderful it is that we've done great things for another 10 years. So thank you very much for listening. So I'll hand over now back to Chris, who will lead you through the rest of the session. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, Mohammed. So before we continue, we thought it'd be quite nice as well if you all had a chance to meet the other people who are on your table. So you're going to be spending some time with them here this afternoon. So rather than be sitting next to people you don't know, wouldn't it be better if you're all sitting next to friends? So we're going to do the obligatory icebreaker, but we've gone for one which is themed with the theme of this evening, this afternoon, sorry. So you've got 3 minutes around your tables now. And around those tables, yes, please introduce your name, introduce the organisation and what you do within that organisation to your friends around the table. But also, can you tell them, as the theme this afternoon is looking backwards and looking forwards, very much travelling through time and with the partnership, which is suitable for a science centre, around your tables, just explain to people, if you could go anywhere in time and anywhere in space, where would you visit for a day? That's your icebreaker. So again, thinking in terms of looking backwards and looking forwards, if you could go anywhere in time and space, for a day, where would it be? And if you can't think of anything, just remember your favourite Doctor Who episode, and that should do it. So you've got 3 minutes in time and space, and we'll see you back here and now shortly, okay? Okay, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you are in time and space, if I could ask you to come back to the here and now. I know it's a shame. I would love to know where you all chose, but to get you to all feed back to the group would take a very long time. And as we don't have actual time travel, time is a factor. So what we will do now is we'll continue the event, and we will go back to the very beginning, which makes sense. Let's start at the beginning of our tale of the Bristol Green Capital Partnership. And to help us talk about the starting of the partnership and how it happened, I'd like to invite 3 people to come on stage, and then they will each say a piece about that story for this section. So I'd like to welcome up on the stage Alex Minshull, City Innovation, Sustainability and Civil Protection Service Manager for Bristol City Council, Peaches Golding, OBE, Her Majesty's Lord Leftenant of the County, Ciaran Mundy, Founder and Chief Executive of the Bristol Pound. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much indeed. And firstly, if I can pass on apologies from Marvin Rees, Mayor of Bristol, who's unable to be here today, but the Mayor is hugely grateful for the work that the partnership does and the expertise that the partnership brings to the city. He set some very ambitious goals for the city, and we'll hear more about those another time. But actually, and the City Council will play its part, but actually he knows and we know that we can only do that in partnership with lots of organisations in this room and beyond. And so I've been asked to speak a bit about how the partnership began, and I will, but I think it's important to recognise the partnership was only possible because there was organisations that could form that partnership. There was a rich history of activity in the city that we were able to draw upon and bring together to form the partnership. You can't have a partnership on your own. So the idea of Bristol being a green capital was first laid out in the community strategy of 2003. And that was created by the thing called the Bristol Partnership, which was an organisation network of the principal public, private and public, private and third sector organisations in the city. And that set out a vision for the city, a vision of how we could make the city a better place to live. And in 2006 and early 2007, Barbara Jank was leader of the City Council, then leader of the City Council then, and now Baroness Jank, and I'm delighted to see that she's with us today. And she used that leadership to try and turn that vision into some practical action. And on the basis of that, and she recognised that the City Council couldn't do these things alone and that we needed to bring in the whole knowledge and expertise of the city. And thus was born the idea of the Bristol Green Capital Partnership. And as we've heard Chris earlier, a few of those organisations got together here and initially signed that pledge. And that group rapidly grew from the small number there into over 100 members. And politics being politics, we then had an election, and following that election, Helen Holland was leader of the City Council and Labour leader of the City Council. And it was for her to chair the first meeting of the partnership in June of 2017. And very quickly then to apply to the newly formed European Green Capital Award. So that award was created in the autumn of that year. And so it was invented after Bristol invented its own partnership. And so the award, now we knew how we might do it by working together, the award gave us an idea of how we might measure our progress. Winning the award is never an objective. It was merely a means to an end and a way of comparing ourselves with some of the best cities around the continent. And because doing that wasn't without risks, and it wasn't without political risks when you're the leader and you say, we're going to do this. And indeed, many people actually laughed out loud when we said that Bristol would apply to be European Green Capital, let alone that we would dream that one day we would win that award and give us momentum on our journey. So it's important to remind us that award was a means to an end, a focus. And Mohammed has talked about the pledge and the way that pledge focuses on how we achieve sustainable development and how we do that for the benefit of everybody in the city. And the value the partnership's been able to bring, from my perspective, is to bring the diverse strengths of the kind of organisations we've got here today. The strengths of the City Council, working in concert with community organisations. It's also allowed us to be perhaps bolder than we might have been individually, and to take some shared ambition. So when the partnership commissioned the peak oil report, back quite a long time ago now, it was quite a radical thing to do, and the City Council paid for it, but it was able to do that because it had the collective strength and support of the partnership. And the partnership and our success in becoming European Green Capital and changing the city is down to the hard work of many, many people. And we will hear thanks, we've heard some thanks today from Mohammed, we'll hear them from others as we go through the course of the day, for chairs and people in leadership roles in the organisations. But also there are many, many people who are unnamed and who you haven't heard about. And so I'd like to take this opportunity to just thank one of my colleagues, Mark Leach, who's in the room somewhere. For his work, alongside many others, in helping to make Bristol a more sustainable city. Thank you. So it's my great pleasure to hand over to Peaches, Lord Lieutenant.
Thank you so very much. It's a real honour to be here as the Queen's representative. But I'm not just the Queen's representative, I'm a zoologist. And in the 1980s was involved in garbology, climbing through people's waste bins and trying to encourage them to recycle. And Jane Stevenson, I'm sure you'll hear in the audience somewhere, she and I were part of that revolution that started at supermarkets to encourage them to donate a space so that we could recycle our used containers. So when I heard 10 years ago that this partnership had been established, I was working for Business in the Community, and for them, it's one of the Prince's charities, by the way, for them, environment was where the start of corporate social responsibility was. And it was natural for me, therefore, to become part of this partnership and to be involved in it for a very, very, very long time, supporting that very first bid, having all of the top floor of Bush House on several occasions dedicated to organizations coming and talking about what they're doing in this green environment, sharing good lessons, thinking about how it is we could move things forward. I also remember very well at Cabot Circus when I was able to encourage their Royal Highnesses, the Prince of Wales and the Duchess of Cornwall, to come to our city and see the number of projects that were working. Mohammed, you were part of that then with your wonderful car driven on waste materials. I won't call it a poo-driven car. Oh, I just did. But we had the university there, we had the zoo, we had all sorts of members of our communities, large and small, public, private, voluntary sector, all showing the Prince and the Duchess what our city was about. And I got a lovely note back from the Prince of Wales on that saying, you know, I didn't realize so much was going on in Bristol. So looking forward, where is it that we should be going and what are some of the things that we can do? We are a green city. We have green businesses, green communities, all sorts of things. I'd like to go back to where I started as the Queen's representative, because we have the Queen's Awards for Enterprise for our businesses, and there is a category for sustainable businesses. I'd like to see more of you and your organizations applying for those awards. They're open now. The closing date is the 1st of September. Make a note of it. Google Queen's Awards for Enterprise. It will give you all the criteria. There's also a Queen's Award for the voluntary sector. And there we should be recognizing some of those among you who are doing extraordinary things, unique things, inspiring things. And I'd really like you to categorize and be very, very clear, quantify what it is that you do to help drive green initiatives, changes in people's perceptions and actions and behaviors, and apply for those awards too. So thank you. It's lovely to be here. I look forward to 10 years from now. I look forward to 2050 when there are other exciting announcements to be made. Keep up the good work, and thank you. Now I get to pass the baton to Ciaran.
Thanks, Peaches. That's lovely. Okay, so where did we start from? Where did I start from in terms of Bristol Green Capital? Might be a good point to start. I was part of Transition Bristol 10 years ago, and we were coordinating and trying to encourage a range of projects around Bristol at the time. And in the Green Capital Partnership, we were pushing the idea of the peak oil report that Alex mentioned. But I think what was really important in terms of the Bristol Pound, which is what I'm representing today, was that it created a space where you could talk about ideas that outside of that room might seem crazy. So there's a lot of us probably in here who feel like when they're not in the bubble, people are looking at them slightly like they're a bit mad about the changes that have to make, the speed at which change is required. Christina Figueres has talked about we have 3 years in which to act. We live in a mad world. It's absolutely crazy what's happening. We have to create that space, and that's what the Green Capital can do. It helped us get going. Gave us a little bit of money, yes, but what the key thing was, it created a space within which these ideas that are need to start and grow don't seem like crazy ideas in that company. And we need to keep holding that space open. It's more urgent than ever that we maintain that, I think. Today we have the Bristol Pound, which has in many ways succeeded way beyond what we expected for it. It felt like an impossible task, really, to set up an alternative monetary system in Bristol. But we did it, and we've proved that it can work in Bristol and across many cities that we've worked with now, and we've reached out nationally and internationally and built an alliance of similar schemes, and we've inspired other cities like Barcelona to come up and take it to the next level. And I hope that with the backing of the people in the Green Capital Partnership, we can again help build on what we've achieved here in Bristol, about 2,000 accounts, a couple of £1 million last year. It's small in the scheme of things, but we have a 10x plan, and we need the support of the partnership to build on that. What else? If I stick to my brief from Vicky, should I be saying? Okay, what we've learned is that you have to meet people where they are and not be judgmental. There's a kind of a contradiction when we know that huge changes need to be made, and you're talking to people in their everyday lives about making huge changes. It kind of doesn't make sense. At some level, there's a huge cognitive dissonance, a kind of a non-acceptance of the reality of what's happening in the physical world out there, what's happening in nature, the nature that we are part of, but we don't feel part of. We have to help people by finding common ground, and I would say finding common values. And what I've learned with working with people in the Green Capital Partnership is there's a lot of common values. Whatever we're working on, what we really care about is usually the same thing. We care about our families, our communities, nature, and the wider world. When you start with those common values, you can you can find common ground with almost any group of people. So that's, again, what I've learned working on the Bristol Pound project. What we hope for the future, of course, is a sustainable world that's inclusive of all the people in the most positive way we can. If it's not a more inclusive conversation, I think this is something that Marvin's been highlighting for years, to achieve what we want to achieve, it has to be a more inclusive conversation. That can be very challenging because, of course, we're all used to and looking for people to agree with us, but we have to reach out beyond that and build on that common ground. It's absolutely vital. Our agenda is not just about environmental sustainability. What that really means is bringing people along on a journey of greater equality in the future that's not built on division, where we see our cause as a common cause that we can embark on together. Now, people who are trying to maintain the status quo will try and divide people up and have us fighting against each other about who's got the best project or this, that, or the other, or whose in political interest this or that is in. We have common cause. Everybody does, and we need to work on that and build on it. And I think that's the place for the green capital to really help us find that common cause between different groups. My hope for the future is that genuinely sustainable future where people are living in well-balanced communities. Businesses will always, I think, be at the heart. Locally owned businesses will always be at the heart of healthy and balanced communities. We need to work towards an economy that serves that, and that means a much more localized economy. Yes, we can share ideas. Yes, we can build connections with the wider world. That's really important. The actual material reality of the world that we live in is that we need to be more connected locally and trading more locally and transacting more locally. The economy should reflect the physical reality of the world that we live in. And if we're going to be sustainable, we'll have achieved that, where people are much more connected at a local to regional level. And that's our vision for the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you to Alex and to Peaches and to Ciaran. Thank you so much. So as we move on with the story, there are a couple of things I wanted to reflect on from that. The first one that I thought was really interesting was the fact that you need to remember that when the Bristol Capital Partnership was originally proposed as an idea, that some people were doubtful of it. And similarly that, at the start, people didn't realise the impact Bristol Pound would have. And I suppose sometimes we take organisations and movements and things for granted once they're here, but we need to remember they haven't always existed. And it's useful to remember anyone who has a big idea, especially in sustainability, at the start, you need to overcome that. And that's how you kind of move forward. So there will always be some doubt at the start, but you can prove it can be done. And the other thing that I always enjoy is the idea that obviously Bristol was using the phrase green capital before the European Green Capital Scheme existed. So we were there first, which is exciting. Before we move on and introduce the next bit, so that was very much kind of the start of the journey. Moving forward, I also just wanted to, I know that one of the ideas of today is to share your partnership stories, and I suppose that Bristol's partnership story started in 2011, so we were working more on sustainability in At-Bristol, and I started going to partnership events. And my first impression, my first experience at a partnership was two things really. It was kind of a feeling of excitement and kind of wonder that it was already happening, but also a feeling of relief. And why is that? The excitement was the fact that the organisation was already so big by that point and so much was happening and there were so many people with so many ambitious ideas within it. And relief, because I think for some of you who work in organisations where sustainability might not be your key business, but it's an element of it, if you are the sustainability person, you sometimes feel, am I just working at this on my own? How am I going to deal with these projects on my own? And the relief with the partnership was realising there's people in organisations all over the city who are trying to achieve a similar aim. And that was a wonderful feeling to realise that in organisations all around the city we're kind of moving in a kind of a similar aligned direction. So that was a really good feeling. Discovering the partnership was there and could do that. From that, At-Bristol got involved. We were chairing the engagement group, and we were involved in the steering group on the lead up to the European Green Capital Award. And it's that period of time I'd like to talk about now. So I'd like to welcome to the stage Martin Bigg, who was the elected chair of the Bristol Green Capital Partnership from 2011 to 2013, to talk about the process of going for the bid for the European Green Capital Award. And Martin is also the director of the Environmental Technologies iNet. Martin.
Why did Bristol win European Green Capital 2015? We won because we are a learning city. We won because we work in partnership. We won because we are committed to a sustainable future. And we won because we are committed to sharing knowledge and experience nationally and internationally. In 2012, we learned we could not beat Copenhagen. Let's face it, 50% of their city centre population cycle to work. Even on a sunny day, we'd never achieve that in Bristol. But we were determined not to be defeated. We were determined to reject the idea that we did not deserve to win. And we had a great city council. Unfortunately, councils tend to get criticised a lot these days. I'm going to praise Bristol because they worked damn hard in collecting good evidence that we were good at a lot of things. But we also faced a lot of challenges. And with the partnership, we brought together a load of critics, challenging that information. How could we present it in a better way? Let's face it, we haven't got many water meters in the city. But Bristol Water is investing in new water supply. And time again, there are a lot of things going on which may not be very obvious, but were good news stories on the environment. We had a diverse team we put together with the City Council, with the partnership, to present our case to the jury in Brussels. And we practiced our presentations in front of our worst critics, who really pulled us to pieces before we went to Brussels. And, oh, by the way, when we went to Brussels, we wore green ties and green scarves, so we were working together. But the driver behind our success was partnership. That unique partnership between businesses, between community, academic groups, sharing ideas, challenging and supporting change. And that partnership was recognised by the jury. But Bristol faces a lot of challenges. We're going to have to talk about congestion, air quality, managing our waste, managing water. But those were issues that we shared with cities right across Europe. So we could bring our experience, our success and failures to other cities, sharing that knowledge. And that aspect of our sharing, again, impressed the jury. And so often, environmental issues are seen as, you can't do that, you must stop. But we were about what you can do, the opportunities, bearing in mind the personalities, the cultures, the history we've got in this city. We've got a can-do culture. We won because we were determined to be the city that was going to have some fun. So we won that title through sharing, through collaborating across communities, through partnership, through businesses, through community groups working together and having fun. But most importantly, it didn't stop. It kept going. And Bristol, I believe, through a run-up to 2015, during 2015, and the result of 2015, is now seen as a European lead city, as a global lead city. We've put Bristol on the map as a come-to place, come to invest, to share ideas, learn from what we've done successfully, and one or two, very few, mistakes. And I must say, I've had a great benefit of being with the partnership because I've had the opportunity to go and share the successes of Bristol, what we have achieved in the competition, winning the competition, but as a partnership, as a community, with Chinese in Beijing, with Americans in Minnesota, even with French in Nantes and Bordeaux. We have got a lot to share. And irrespective of what's going on in London and Brussels, I think it is absolutely critical that we continue to share. And I'm really pleased that our students at the universities have really had that opportunity also to share the skills through the Skills Bridge. It's been great to see students enthused about being in Bristol, exciting city, working with communities on green issues. It's been an honour for me and a privilege and a pleasure to be a chair and subsequently a board member of the Bristol Green Capital Partnership. I have learnt and benefited from so much, the commitment, the knowledge, the collaboration, the friendship of the partnership. It's also been fun. So, thank you very much. But being part of the European Green Capital has meant that we've been able to share excitement and activity in the city. And I'd now like to introduce one of the projects that started in 2015 to share the experience of Bristol's year as Green Capital and the lasting impact of that project. So on behalf of 91 Ways Project, I'd like to welcome Kalpna Woolf. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. And is the picture going up? Yes. It's very significant because I think it probably tells you in one snapshot about what we're about. So I feel like a bit of a newbie, really, a young child of Bristol Green Capital. I'll be honest, I didn't realise the Green Capital or the Green Capital Partnership had been around for 10 years. I've only known it since 2015. And in 2015, when Bristol got the award for the European Green Capital, there was a lot of wonderful excitement in the city. And I thought this is a really, really good opportunity for Bristol. I really love Bristol as a city. I've been here just over 20 years. But the Green Capital for me meant, it actually meant it's an opportunity to impact all the people in our city and to make all the people in our city, their lives better and to improve them. We've heard today about Bristol, how wonderful a city it is, and all the great things that go on here, and all the collaborations that allowed that Green Capital, European Green Capital Award to actually come to us. Bristol is a wealthy city. It has all of the wonderful art, culture, and it has a wonderful distinctive spirit, I like to call it, and I think that's what draws so many people, not just around the UK, but around the world to our city. We've also heard about the challenges, and it's those challenges that actually drew me into starting this project. So one half of Bristol is wonderful. It has so many great things going for it. But there is this other part of Bristol, huge communities who do not get the opportunity to connect. They don't get the opportunity to hear some of the things that we hear. They don't even get the opportunity to connect in their own, within their own communities. And the challenges that they face around food poverty, we have one of the highest child food poverty stats in not just in the southwest, but in the whole of the country, and that has got to be unacceptable. We have food banks, one of the highest numbers in the UK. We have a food waste a percentage which isn't good, nothing to be proud of. We have deprivation, but I think one of the biggest things that we have is that we have communities that aren't engaged, that are disenfranchised and don't get the opportunity to enjoy the success and the wealth and all the knowledge that exists. So for me, when Green Capital came along, I thought, well, this is a really good opportunity to get everybody together and to actually get those messages out to people. Now, that's very easier said than done, those of you that have worked in the community. How do you do that? So we founded 91 Ways to Build a Global City. And I called it 91 Ways to Build a Global City because I firmly believe that that is an ambition that Bristol can achieve. But in order to achieve that, it needs to bring all of its people with it. 91 Ways to Build a Global City is about inclusivity. It's about taking the message of health and sustainability to all the 91 language communities of Bristol. And the way we do that is we find there are 91 languages spoken in Bristol, so we look for the common language, and the common language is food, and food was one of the themes for Bristol Green Capital. And food, of course, is a great way of bringing people together. We all love food, we have something to say about it, but it also has an impact on the environment. The way that we eat, where we shop, what we do with the food afterwards obviously has a big environmental impact, and it has an impact on our health and well-being. So that's why we use food. Food to build connections is very, very important because, and I picked this to say, it's because actually we want to build those connections. We want to build a city that actually speaks to each other, that actually wants to then connect. And therefore, once we've connected with them, we can actually talk to people about all the issues, all the challenges, and help communities. That relationship is really, 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 really important. There are so many projects that come and go. We are a legacy project. We intend to stay as long as we can and do that work in the communities, bringing people together, really building that resilience, building that strength between communities, building an understanding, and then actually being able to get all of these messages so that we can have deliver the ambition that we wanted, that we always said in our 10th year that we would get to, and that we'll continue trying to do, to build a sustainable city that we want to build in Bristol. So our future quickly is that in the last 2 years, we have actually held almost 100 events. We have seen over 4,000 people face to face. We have connected with thousands more on social media. We have met with 50 language communities. We intend to carry on. Sustainability, building this global city, is a long game. We appeal to you for support because we are doing this on our own. So anybody who wants to support us, please come and talk to us. We do want to carry on. And one of the things we're trying to do now is, because the ambition is always to show how wonderful Bristol is to other cities, is to model this out to other cities. And this is one of the things that we're working on. So we've done some fantastic things. We're really happy to be a legacy project. We're really happy to have connected lots of people. We've started those conversations with people, and we intend to carry on. And hopefully we can actually go around the whole of the UK telling them, look at this great project, you too can do this, and you can build a sustainable city for yourself. So thank you very much.
Thank you to Kalpna and to Martin as well. There are so many examples of projects that took place during our European Green Capital year of 2015 that we can't hope to cover them all this afternoon, but it's lovely to hear an example of one which started in that year but is still running as a legacy project and will continue into the future, and there's many other examples of that as well. In fact, the Bristol 2015 review has a range of examples like that, and many of them do feature the membership partners. Just out of interest, as a show of hands, how many people have seen the Bristol 2015 review? Okay, if you haven't got your hand up, not to worry, because there are, thanks to the Bristol 2015, there are about 100 copies at the back there. So if you want to collect one on the way out, then that review will give you an overview and some examples of what happened during the year. So where do we go next in our story? Well, Martin told us about the experience being chair in terms of bidding for the European Green Capital Awards. And next I'd like to hand over to Liz Zeidler, who was the chair during the 2015 year and in the lead up as well. So Liz was the chair of the Bristol Green Capital Partnership during that time, and originally was co-chairing with Philippa Bailey from University of Bristol's Cabot Institute in 2014 in the lead up as well. So I'm very pleased to welcome Liz to the stage, and Liz is now going to guide us through the next section. Over to you, Liz.
Thank you. I don't think I realised it was quite such a succession of chairs, but I will do my best to be a different type of chair. So I was asked a little while ago to reflect on the period in which I was chair of the partnership, and it was a fairly extraordinary period, so there's no way I can do that in the 4 minutes that Vicky has allotted me. So I'm going to try and sum it up a little bit. But one of my primary motivations, personally, for stepping into that fairly daunting role was, to be honest with you, to shake things up. Anyone who knows me knows that that's the sort of thing I like to do. So what I'm going to do today is try and share with you a few of those shake-ups that particularly came to mind. The first two are quite personal. So I was proud to be, if rather briefly, probably the first, someone's going to correct me on this one, but I'm going to go for it, the first job share chair in the city with the wonderful Philippa Bailey, who sadly can't be here today. And I firstly would like to applaud the partnership for embracing a new way of doing things, one that makes the role of chair more accessible to more busy people. And I look forward, to be honest with you, to the first job share mayor in Bristol one day. So I think we should work towards that. Let's make these jobs a little bit more inclusive. I was also the first female chair of the partnership, as you might have noticed from the previous chairs we've seen, with all due respect to them. Bristol is not alone, I believe, in needing more women in positions of leadership and influence. And I think that's partly a systemic thing, but I think we women also need sometimes to step up and not just complain from the sidelines. So I would encourage all of you women here to think about that. There are some amazing positions out there, and we need your brilliance in them. But as for my time as chair, it straddled an extraordinary period of shake-up for the partnership. I had the huge honour of being vice chair for the year during the build-up when we won the bid. I think we had a crazy picture of us winning the bid at some point. And then I was co-chair and chair throughout the build-up in 2014 and the year itself in 2015. It was a very busy time. In fact, for chunks of that time, the team that we were talked about earlier, the team was Vicky and me, as well as the rest of the board. But in terms of actually delivering things, it was a very, very small team to be doing quite a lot of things. But in that time, the membership grew from around 200 organisations to around 850. Now, that's a fairly phenomenal growth period in just about a year. And as someone who runs an organisation primarily in existence to challenge our growth-obsessed world, the irony wasn't lost on me. That growth was partly down, of course, to the public profile that winning the award brought. And that's a fantastic legacy, I think, of the year itself. But the numerous conversations I had, and they were numerous during that period in every corner of the city, indicated that actually it was more than that. It wasn't just about publicity, it was something a bit more deep-rooted to that. And I believe it was down to a bit more of that shaking up thing that I mentioned earlier. What I and others involved at that time sought to do was really challenge the perception, and I think if we all look ourselves in the eye and are honest, in some cases the reality, that the partnership and the wider Green movement was a bit of a clique. Now, it was really important that we challenge that perception and, where it was a reality, challenge that reality. There was a real sense that it was a lot of people reinforcing each other's views and doing a lot of preaching to the converted. Now, we all know, of course, that the partnership went way, way beyond that, even in its early years. We know that to be the case. But we always needed to be challenging the perception, but also challenging ourselves to make sure that everyone, and I mean everyone, felt welcomed and everyone could find their role in the partnership. So in this very room, as Chris mentioned earlier, we literally and metaphorically flung open the doors of the partnership. We boldly invited people to help us move from a small group of self-selected people stirring the partnership to an open array of action groups, inviting people to actively join in literally thousands of diverse ways across numerous incredibly important themes for our city. It was a huge change. And this came, of course, with numerous challenges. Many things worked, and let's be honest, many things didn't. We learnt a lot. It was a bold move, but I think it made a big difference. And my abiding memory of this particular shake-up was the game-changing shift in the capacity and opportunity for anyone to get involved if they wanted to find collaborators, to share ideas, to get support. We've heard a few of those examples already. To throw their skills into a collective pot. It didn't matter whether you were the entrepreneur who was going to start a project or just a young volunteer who wanted to get involved somewhere or other to use their mind and their hands and their skills. There was a place for you to come and find that, and you didn't need to do it alone. I still regularly hear people say, this project emerged from the Green Capital Action Group. They often don't know I was even involved in the Green Capital, but they mention it. And I'm always really delighted because so many of those projects now are entirely separate and have thoroughly flown the partnership nest. And this, for me, is what the partnership is all about. It's about convening spaces, challenging thinking, galvanising action, creating opportunities for collaboration, supporting people and projects to deliver more than the sum of their parts. And doing all of this often with little or no visibility or credit. And that's an important thing to remember about the partnership. This is the kind of humble leadership that I think the partnership, at its best, offers. And that's what I call shaking it up a bit. I've got one more shake-up, even though I've run out of time, but it's an important one, I think, and it leads into what Ian's going to tell us about. So the final, perhaps most challenging shake-up I was involved in was trying to help move the partnership to a more sustainable footing. We had for too long swung between total dependence on City Council support, which we all know is a hard thing to get these days, financial support, by the way, they're still very supportive, but to struggling to deliver all of this in a hand-to-mouth funding. If the partnership was to offer something of value, we had to find a way to do that sustainably in the long term. And so we spent what felt like a very long time galvanising the big boys and the girls, of course, after what I said earlier, in the city to come together to support the work of the rest of us, vital, life-giving minnows of the city. The CIC was born in the latter part of 2014, but by the end of 2015, we had secured funding and buy-in from the key city institutions, and that was vital for the sustainability of this organisation. By doing so, those organisations have committed to support what I hope remains that bold but humble leadership in all its guises across the city, committed to keeping those doors wide open. And I challenge us all to keep reminding ourselves that. And they did all of this in the name of a better future for our children. Now, I call that a fantastic green legacy for the Green Capital year. I'm proud to have played a very small part of it, and I commend every single one of you who played your parts in it. But I think we all have the real responsibility of making sure that legacy brings the benefits we want to see. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to lead this amazing organisation for a very brief period. You've got me for a little bit longer because I think Vicky thought she could, buy one, get one free, and I could do a bit of comparing while I was here. So I talked a bit about my own desire to shake things up, but of course I was far, far from alone in that. It's one thing to fling open the doors of the partnership, but we needed to then, and we absolutely must continue to really actively support a diverse group of brilliant people to walk through that door. Opening the door is not enough. One really inspiring project, catalysed during the time of 2015, was the Green and Black project. It set out to try and grow the active involvement of Black, Asian and minority ethnic communities across Bristol in the green movement. In 2015 and early 2016, the partnership collaborated with Ujima Radio, University of Bristol's Cabot Institute and Policy Bristol to run a whole range of community consultations to identify ways to take this initiative forward. The result was the Green and Blacks Ambassadors Initiative that started in late 2016. And I'm absolutely delighted now to hand over the stage to Zakiya and Jazz, who are themselves Green and Black Ambassadors, and to Roger and Julz from Ujima Radio to tell us a whole lot more. Thanks, Roger.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure to be here and an honour, again, indeed, to be in front of you. Partnerships is at the key of everything that we do, not only here at Ujima, but obviously throughout Bristol. And just to briefly just set the scene, because we didn't just arrive here from an outer space spaceship or anything. We arrived in here through that partnership, through a vision. And I can remember in 2012 talking to my co-director, Paul Hassan, at the time, and he said, Rog, we're going to go green. And I was like, yeah, I reuse, I recycle, I reduce all the time, man. What's the problem here? Nah, man, sustainability is the future. I was like, yeah, I know, but ain't nobody got time for that. Come on. What about jobs? What about the skills? What about the gaps there is in the city? The engagement, the education, and health. What about all those things, man? That's what we got to be targeting on. We're talking about sustainability. Rog, we can do all of that and more. I'm delighted to say, not only for those of you who follow his Twitter feed, and he's predicted both Brexit and Trump, Paul Hassan was right, and I, as his partner and my former mentor, always, what he asked me to do, I blindly and gladly leap off the cliff to follow him, even in this moment of madness. So that was, out of them, we created a thing called Green Citizen Journalists with the University West of England, Bev Green, and a project there with the University of Bristol as well. Journalists that went out into the community, went into Mill Pond School and asked about the noise pollution. We talked to Junction 3, there and made radio programs about the rest in traffic. We found out that's one of the most polluted corridors in Western Europe. We found examples in our community, such as peaches and much, much more about, when we interviewed people like Roy Hackett, we were told that they were farmers, and we didn't realise and value that. And they said, well, nobody's ever asked me, Rog. Fast forward 2015, the year of Green Capital, and we were actually locked out of that bid. But we passed the baton on to Julz Davis. And Julz not only took that further, he ran as fast as Usain Bolt and longer than Mo Farah. He led and rebranded it as the Green and Black Project. in 2015 with support of people like Gary Top and Zoe Sears, took that even further. And then its current iteration, it's come to the Green and Black Ambassadors, which I'm going to hand over shortly to Jasmine and Zakiya. So, to answer my question, we've all got time for this. Sustainability is the future, as we need to tell President Trump that. And indeed, President Obama and Paul Hassan have been saying. So, without further ado, and just to look at one of their projects and introduce the Slimbridge Photo Voice project, can you welcome to the stage, please, the Green and Black Ambassadors and the Green and Black Champion and your Green and Capital Partnership leader for 2015, Julz Davis, Zakiya Mckenzie, and Jasmine Ketibuah-Foley. Please, thank you.
I'm Zakiya. We are just going to show you a presentation, some of the work that we've been doing. So this is one of our research pieces. It's called The Photo Voice, and it was taken at WWT Slimbridge, where we took a group of young people, so the Bristol BME Youth Forum, and so all the photos have been taken by them. This is their outlook, and the audio that you will hear is from 2 people who were participants in a workshop that we held.
And our Twitter is Ujima Green Blacks. Tweet us and stuff. That'd be great.
Coming here is that it's all God's creation. And when you think about black people, you might think, oh yeah, black people can't go there, only white people go there. But when you come and see the birds,
Yes.
whether you're religious or you're irreligious, you can't help but be in awe of of creation. Whether you think of God's creation or nature, it doesn't matter. It just takes you beyond that whole cultural thing, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, we're individuals. We all have individual interests, and it's not until we're exposed to something that might point us into a direction. But it's about it's about feeling comfortable, I think, is what they were saying here at WWT. Yeah. They were saying that they don't see a certain type of diverse person, but maybe that's just lack of media. And lack of invitation.
Or lack of awareness. The main thing people say they don't know about it. Yeah. But when it comes to diversity, the birds alone tell the story. What makes this place amazing is if there was all just one bird, no one would come here. But that's what makes it really fascinating. And likewise, I think that it's kind of when you get all that human stuff out of the way, it's not about you, it's about the birds, it's about the wetlands, about nature. Do you know what I mean? It's not about you and whether someone's looking at you funny. Exactly. Do you know what I mean? It's like, and that's a leveler.
For some people it's a hobby, for some people an interest, for some people it's a new exposure. Yeah. And it's just amazing to be outdoors and have birds coming up to you, having the geese walking by your own feet. Yeah. It's brilliant.
I do think that whole thing about having birds from Africa, Asia, whatever, it does make Caribbean, just remind you, you know what I mean? It's all the same land. Yeah. It's all their land. Yeah. Is that the Africa, Asian, there's human distinctions, it's just us. So I think nature's a leveler.
People are so nicely well-travelled these days that they will see the same bird maybe more than one place of the world.
Yeah. Some of these birds I've never seen before in my life. And to see them up front, you might have seen them on some David Attenborough documentary, but to see them actually up close and personal is brilliant.
Yes, up close, that's what it's about.
It's a good level of nature. Get rid of that cultural nonsense. Coming here is that
Julz. Hello? I think I scared myself there. First and foremost, my mum would always say the right thing to do is to introduce yourself. So my name is Julz. Apparently, I look like Usain Bolt. Must be the hair. Okay, so Green and Black, I want to talk a little bit about how it originated, and it's really interesting because it was really sparked by Bristol being bold and ambitious and going for the European Green Capital and winning that bid. And when that happened, a number of challenges were set in play. And I guess one of the biggest ones was how could the whole city, all the sons and daughters of the city benefit and participate in the European Green Capital. There were murmurs, I was being very polite, that perhaps it wasn't for everyone. Liz did touch on it, and talking about the cliquiness of a minority group that some people might call the green sector. So I wanted to play my role by provocating and also advocating for an inclusive approach. We got support from the former Mayor George, and Zoe were very supportive of it. But the conversation itself initially sparked actually with a conversation with our current mayor, Marvin Rees. And it was over a fair trade cup of coffee, and we were saying, well, how can all the sons and daughters benefit from this wonderful opportunity? And we just came up with the idea, green and black. Why can't black folk be green and black? And it was really that simple. And using that as the kernel of the idea, we want to understand what black folks thought about being green. Of course, there was an issue about words and language, sustainability, and does that translate to the streets? I suggest it doesn't. But we hit the grounds ourselves as a community radio station, and we did some ethnographic research. And we spoke directly to the people to find out what green meant to them, were they interested about the green capital, were they aware of it, and if they were, would they want to participate in it? And actually a resounding yes came back in terms of participation. Awareness actually wasn't quite where it needed to be, but what there was a need. And we understood at the time that the need was there. And so again, we approached, George Ferguson and Zoe, and they were very supportive of the idea, spoke to the Green Capital partnership, and they were also supportive of the idea. And with their support, we actually began to turn it into an interest, into something tangible, into something meaningful that would actually have a legacy. And I'm so delighted that part of that legacy actually sits here with us right now, and they're called the Green and Black Ambassadors. So I'm actually going to hand over to you guys now.
Okay. So this is going to be a bit of a discussion between Jazz and I. So we are the two ambassadors, but we have come from kind of two different areas. So Jazz, can you tell everyone why is it that you got involved with this project? Why did you think it was something you wanted to do?
Yeah. So I came out of, I grew up in London, and I came here for studying at UE. And whilst I was studying, I got really interested in the environmental activist scene in Bristol. And it was great. Everyone was really active. I was really surprised by how active Bristol was, because I came from London and everything's really sparse and far away, and it's hard to connect with people. So that really inspired me. But after a while, I started to get really uncomfortable with the fact that I was one of the only brown faces in this crowd of amazing, inspiring people. And I was like, where are all of my role models? Where are all these people that I can connect with? So from that, a seed was planted in my brain, and I kind of wanted to change that view that environmental activism and the green sector is just for, middle-class white people. It's for everybody else, and everybody else has a voice to add to that, and a really important voice to add to that. So quite soon after that, actually, I started working at Ujima Radio, and my background is broadcast journalism, and I'm a producer there, and I've been working there just telling people stories, and that's something that I'm really passionate about. And then after that, Julz came to me and Roger and asked me to be Green and Black Ambassador, and I was like, well, yeah, why not? This is something that I've already had in my mind. Why not do it? So now I'm here, and it's been a really interesting journey. It's only been the pilot phase so far, but it feels like there's still so much more to be done.
For me, I suppose I have lived in a few different countries, and one of the very first things I recognized about Bristol, and it's something that's said over and over again, is that the city is quite segregated, is the word that was said to me when I first came. And actually I found it to be true, having lived in places like New York, but also in the developing world, growing up in Jamaica and spending some time in South Africa. I was very surprised that Bristol had all the things that it had, but it was like this. So for me, getting involved in this project just seemed like a no-brainer. I'm very much like a nature girl, but also coming from a journalism background too and telling stories, I thought, well, this just might be the time for me to get into representation and research. I'm a researcher also. And so that's how I got into this program. And, definitely it's been one of the highlights of my life, I would even say, meeting a lot of people, but also kind of bridging a gap between a kind of corporate world and a very community-based grassroots level has been really interesting for me. So Jazz, also, can you tell us what have been the highlights for you in the project so far?
So with regards to this project that we've just been looking at, the Diverse Natures Project, there was a moment where I was like, okay, this is great, we're taking people out to see wildlife, but I hope that they take something away with them from the trip. So I was waiting for something to happen. We're walking around and everyone seemed a little bit bored, because it wasn't like the best of weather, and we were just sort of wandering around, wondering what we were looking for. And we went inside a hide to go and look at the birds, and we'd brought a few people from the community with us. One of them was called Malma, and he didn't have very good English, and I kept on saying, "You okay?" And he was just like, "Yeah, I'm fine. Yeah, I'm fine," and didn't seem that engaged. We went into the hide, and someone gave him a pair of binoculars to look at the birds, and his face just lit up. And from then I realized how important it is, even if you can't engage verbally or, I don't know, be actively doing something, it's really important to invite people that you don't normally see in these spaces into these spaces, because they can get something out of it. It doesn't really matter what it is. It just matters that they're there and they're enjoying it with you. So that was definitely a massive highlight. And also, when we did the workshop, it was really great to see people having the space to actually talk to each other honestly about these things, because I don't think people really engage in conversation regarding diversity in the green sector. It's not something that really slips into conversation quite easily and commonly. So it was really refreshing to see people talk really honestly, and I felt quite honoured to have been part of giving people that space to do that, and I want to see more of that.
Yeah, I feel very much like you, and I think exactly the same. For me, the highlight has been, apart from just lots of kind of personal development, really, is having this project be as successful as it is, and having people from other kind of groups, organizations, businesses, but also different sectors saying, this seems like a good model, maybe we should try something like this. Now, I think a lot of the things that we learn through this project can help change other sectors in Bristol also. I don't think it's only the environmental sector that can learn lessons from our project in terms of getting two young people who are from a community working, on both levels at kind of the corporate level and also the grassroots community level. And so for me, actually, that has been the highlight, is the fact that people think that it's a model that can be replicated and could possibly then start a chain reaction of successes in diversity in Bristol. I think for me, that definitely has been a highlight. We also are going to share some of the lessons that we've learned through some clips from our radio program. So we have a radio program that comes on the last Thursday of every month on Ujima Radio.
Put it in your diary.
And this is just a quick audio clip from the radio show.
It's from 10 a.m. to midnight.
Magic City, beautiful Bristol City.
Bristol City.
The magic city for us.
And if you've just tuned in, this is Green and Black Radio. Welcome. Here we will be questioning diversity in the green sector. That's what we're fighting to do, and that's what you'll be hearing all throughout the show.
I took it for granted growing up, I think. I'm so used to being around animals and trees and greenland that you do take it for granted. It's nice to take a break from the city. I grew up in a place that is surrounded by nature, so Nairobi, which is one of the few cities, I think it might be the only city in the world with a national park in the middle of it, so I miss that kind of closeness to nature.
Ade Oleo, he is a panel member of Bristol Energy Network and also a doctorate researcher at UE in Humanities Studies.
We had Bristol European Green Capital. That was quite helpful because then I became more exposed to green issues, and also I became more aware that there were people in Bristol who had ideas, and there were people in Bristol who felt there was environmental inequality. There were people from the African and Afro-Caribbean community in Bristol who felt fairly passionate about this.
Yeah, absolutely. And what Maya Rose often talks about is she calls it nature by stealth. So it's organising something, for example, a half-a-day workshop on filmmaking.
Yeah.
But you meet in Eastville Park, and then you use nature as your forum. But then you're getting people interested in nature through the back door. And I think that across sectors we have to learn.
We have in studio Akuja Di Garang. So Akuja has made significant contribution to the development of South Sudan, which is the world's newest country and the country of her birth. And she's recently, like we said, been given the MBE.
There's also, and I would say this is more probably the core issue, that it was more of a difference about resources. There was a philosophical kind of, differences, but there were also difference in terms of, like, basically people were fighting over the resources.
Hello, my name's Mohammed Saddiq. I'm the chair of Bristol Green Capital Partnership, the managing director of Genico. You're listening to Green and Black Radio with Zakiya and Jazz.
So that was just a quick sample of type of people who we speak to on radio. And so we chose these clips because we're going to use them now to highlight the lessons that we have personally learned through the Green and Black project. We heard from Akuja Di Garang. This was just last week's program, in fact. She, as we said, is an advocate, an activist in South Sudan, and she was speaking on resources. Now, while she was speaking about her country, I think many people have said it on stage here too, that one of the issues with getting into green, BME communities into the green movement is always going to come down to issue of resources. It seems to be the point that we always end up on with people, and kind of, understanding there that a lot of people might not take part because they don't have a pair of shoes that they can get muddy because they need to wear the pair of shoes the day after. So we think that that's one of the things that people should always be aware of when trying to get kind of working class communities, migrant communities into the green sector, is to always think first, does this activity require much more resources than are actually here?
And in the other bit of audio that you heard there was a lady called Liz Chege who came on a Diverse Natures trip with us. And she spoke about coming from quite a rural background anyway and already having quite a strong relationship with nature. And I kind of realised that for some reason it's assumed that a lot of people from BAME communities, maybe because we're all living in a city together, but it was assumed that maybe they don't have this relationship with nature and that's not a thing, when actually it's probably more of a common thing in BAME communities than you probably think it is. So it just highlighted the issue of actually not assuming anything when you go into these communities or when you work with people, and acknowledge that they probably already have had that relationship already. And it's important to just listen. Yeah, that was the most important thing from that.
We also heard from Ade Olea, who is from the university. I think you were going to speak about that, Jazz.
Sorry. So Ade Olea, he was from UE, and he was talking about development and how the African diaspora is going to be included in the Sustainable Development Goals. And he was just highlighting it in a very eloquent way as to what that's going to look like for the future, because Sustainable Development Goals is a world issue. And I guess he was trying to stipulate the point that if we're going to change the world in the future, then we're going to have to do it together with a vision together. So it's so important to have those voices included, and it's integral even because we're all on the same planet, right? So, yeah.
Yeah, and Ade also pointed out that kind of on a very local level, it's important to find the people who have ideas. And so the third clip would have been from Helena Craig, who's in this room today, speaking about her work with her awesome daughter, Maya Rose, and speaking about nature by stealth. Now, this was something that was repeated to us over and over and over, that people got interested in nature just by having gone to something or having an activity that happened out in nature that wasn't branded as a green event or a nature event, but we heard that over and over again, that this is one way of getting people out. And we just thought, these are some of the best points or best things that we've learned so far, and we wanted to share these points with you. I think we are running out of time now, so we are going to say thank you from us. The project will continue now at Up Our Street for a few more months. We'll have a bit of work carrying on at Up Our Street. Jasmine and I are also researchers at Up Our Street, so you'll still be hearing a lot more from us there. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Just to say, before they leave the stage, thanks also to Vicky Woolley, Rich Pankos, Kat Wall and Hayley Shaw. We work in partnership to get us to this point. To our advocates, Jim and Martin at both the universities. This has provided vital income resources. We're a struggling volunteer-led organisation trying to make the next step up to be a thriving social enterprise. And it's been hard work, and without that backing, we wouldn't have been able to get where we are. Leadership, they've learned from the Bristol Green Capital, research from the universities and our media content. That partnership has come together. And as was said, the next phase is to engage and enthuse more of our communities. And thanks to Up Our Street for coming forward to that. Also finding new ways to work with organisations such as Night One Ways. Sorry, Kalpna, we will get to you, but we're on the way. I'm proud to be wrong in my initial assessment, but I'm very proud and pleased to be part of a green and black future. Thank you very much.
Right, are we still on? I was so busy whooping then I forgot I was supposed to be introducing the next section. I was like, oh, it's great. So that's one fantastic story of change, and we're going to hear a few more, and we're also, just to be warned, going to ask you to share yours in a little while. Before that, the classic case of these sorts of situations, I just had a piece of paper shoved in my direction. I mentioned lots of chairs today. We completely failed to mention Alistair Sorday, who was the first chair of Bristol Green Capital Partnership and played a very, very important role in the early days of helping to get this whole show on the road. And he unfortunately can't be with us today, but that's no reflection on how important he's been to this journey. So thank you in absentia to Alistair. So we are going to, as I said, hear from you, but we thought to get the juices rolling on the role that the partnership has played for you or your organisation, we'd hear from a few people who have volunteered to say that it's made a big difference to theirs. So we have very cruelly only given them 60 seconds each, and I believe Vicky's going to be very cruel in her 60 seconds, particularly as we're running over very sharply. So I've got here Steve, but I now can't see Steve. Steve Sliney. Oh, I was told absolutely categorically you're all sitting quietly at the front. Okay, I'm going to do a quick run. Hang on a second. No, it's too big.
I'll try not to shout into this. So one of the benefits, one of the major things for us of the partnership has been Go Green and the other networking opportunities which is given to us small business. Those networking opportunities and Go Green, still in existence under the stewardship of Low Carbon Southwest, has helped us become a lot less small and continues to let us grow as a company. So partnership's been good for us, the strategy, brilliant, the talking with like-minded people that let me talk to them about waste and pretend not to be bored stiff, the fluffiness, but for us the partnership has been and continues to be very good for business. Thank you.
Well, I dash back. I think Steve might have forgotten the first rule of PR to say who he was from, didn't he? Collect Eco. Brilliant organisation. If you ever need any recycled furniture, office things, go and talk to Steve. Okay, next up, we've got Amy from Triodos Bank.
Hi. I've got lots of things, and I'm going to say a few. I've been involved with the partnership since almost before it was the partnership, when it was the Bristol Sustainability Network. And I wanted to mention Vala Ragnarsdottir, who many of you will remember from University of Bristol. That was the kind of first introduction for me. I was working at Bordeaux Key as sustainability manager. There were so few people doing what I was trying to do. And at that point, having that resource and all those people to talk to was invaluable. When I moved on to Low Carbon Southwest, same kind of thing. It was a really, really helpful way of helping to grow the business aspect of our network. And when we were developing Go Green, which has already had a mention, what made that so successful was the way we engaged with all the action groups from the partnership. The amount of experience and resource and expertise we got from those groups in building that programme was just invaluable and made it such a success. And I got the chance to, Alistair was just mentioned, to be the vice chair of the partnership under two of our chairs. So I just wanted to say thank you, because the partnership has been a fantastic resource for the city on a personal level. I can't imagine anywhere you get to meet this many fantastic, brilliant people in one place. I just can't. And it's also led me to many of my dearest friends. So thank you.
Thank you, Zoe. So next, Zoe from Eastern Energy Group.
Thanks. As a director of a community energy group, proactively fighting climate change and trying to create a more democratic energy system, these are two really key aims for me. But it's not really enough just working in the energy sector alone. So the Green Capital Partnerships sort of made these connections between all these other organisations that together we can make an impact. And I'd also like to say that most of the events have been really fun and creative, and so it becomes a lot easier to collaborate in that type of an environment. I think it's been great to have the spaces that have been created to connect with other organisations. I feel like we can change the world and make Bristol also a better place, but we can only do it together. We can't do it if we're just rabbiting away in our own little sector. We've got to connect with each other and collaborate. And yeah, thanks to the partnership for making that more possible.
You really do need to look up these projects. I know for a fact they're all utterly amazing. Okay, last but definitely not least, the lovely Tracy Lewis from Catalyse Change.
Great, thank you. Hi, I'm Tracy Lewis from Catalyse Change. We're a new Bristol-based social enterprise working to inspire and skill teenage girls for sustainability. So we only set up last year, so we're very new on the scene, but working with Bristol Green Capital has already been a real boost for us. We did a formal launch at their Green Mingle earlier this year, and that was a fantastic platform, both for networking and getting our message across. And some really good practical outcomes came out of that. Bristol University has offered a venue and staff and students to support us. We've got a wonderful MSc student from UE, Heloise, who's working with us to develop our Catalyst Bootcamp programme. And lots of very other inspiring women and people who are working in sustainability have offered their time and expertise to help us talk to the young women and inspire them. But last but not least as well, we've just run a very successful crowdfunder as part of Bristol Green Capital's Better Bristol campaign, which has been absolutely fantastic. And as we knew, we didn't actually have an existing solid supporter base, but we've managed to raise over £6,000 with 64 supporters, and that includes match fund from Bristol Green Capital. So thank you so much, and we're really pleased to be part of the network, and it's been a fantastic collaboration so far, and we look forward to more. And while I've got a microphone and all of you, I do have to say, if any of you know any teenage girls who care about social and environmental issues and are interested in a green career, please do come and talk to me about our Catalyst Bootcamp. Thanks ever so much.
I think it's very appropriate that we just then had somebody who was in at the very, very start of this with Amy, and somebody who's benefiting from some of the most recent innovations, including the crowdfunder with Tracy. So thank you very much indeed. Hope you gives you a little bit of a sense of what we'd like to happen now. Don't worry, you are going to get some more tea and, I believe, cake. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that, does it? I think it's very eco-friendly cake as well, in a little while. But in the meantime, I've talked a lot about opening doors, talking to different people, making new connections and the power that's had over the years. We've heard lots of powerful stories about the reality of the difference that's made to people's projects and lives. So we want you now to get up on your feet, and I know how reluctant people always are to do this, but I'm going to be desperately bossy, I'm afraid. So I'm going to ask you to get up on your feet, try and find somebody you don't know, or certainly don't know very well, don't have very many conversations with, and I'd like you to have a brief conversation, and I'm going to interrupt those conversations and ask you to talk to somebody else for a little while. It's going to be a bit of a crazy move around. There's not much space. There's 2 questions we'd like you to consider. Depending on where you are, if you've just arrived, this is the first experience you've ever had of the partnership, then you might need to wing this a little bit. How has the partnership supported you to achieve your goals? Any way at all? As you just bumped into somebody at an event or anything like that, how has the partnership helped you to achieve your goals? And how might working with the partnership and other members help address future challenges? So what do you hope in the future working with the partnership or working with other members might help you to achieve? What's on your wish list? What the process is going to be, I'm going to ask you to have 2 or 3 different conversations. I've got half a dozen people pointing at postcards. I'm very organised. I've got it all written down. Don't you worry. So after we've buzzed you around for a bit, I'm going to invite you to grab a piece of cake and a cup of tea and sit back down again. And then we're going to absolutely insist that you write some of those things down. We really want to take this as an opportunity to hear both the benefits you have gained from the partnership and perhaps most importantly, how you might want to work in the future so we can make sure the partnership is shaped in the way that will most likely support you in the ways you need to be supported in the future. So we're going to do 2 or 3 rounds of chatting to people we didn't know about those 2 questions. Then I'm going to get you to sit down and take a couple of minutes to write them down. Okay, so on your feet. I'm really going to be insistent on this. On your feet, try and find somebody you don't know very well in the room and have a 2 or 3 minute chat about those questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Liz. So if you give a round of applause for Liz Zeidler, please. Thank you. Hopefully you all have your drinks. At this point on my notes, I've just written cakes, ! Which I think probably reflects the mood in the room. But the cakes are thanks to Mark's bread. And these cakes, as well as being sustainable, specifically the chocolate fudge cakes in front of you, are actually made from recycled pain au chocolat, which firstly shows how good my French is, and secondly, are we clapping the cakes? Good. Yes, let's clap the cakes. Thank you to Mark's Bread for that. So the chocolate fudge cake is an example of upcycling and reducing food waste, and that's all taking place inside your mouth, which is very exciting. So today, so far, we've been looking at the past of the partnership, and obviously that's nice to recognise those who are involved and what we've achieved so far. But of course, we also look backwards for lessons and encouragement on how to move forward as well. So the next part, we're very much going to look at the future of the partnership and the future of the partnership achieving its vision. The vision, of course, being a sustainable city with a high quality of life for all. And as organisations in the room who pledged, as members of the Bristol Green Capital Partnership, you pledged to support that. At-Bristol has pledged to support that. And obviously that's what's going to help us to achieve that. And obviously that collective action and the collaboration is all what the partnership's about. And I know it's been said a few times before, but obviously the impact by working together, you are greater than the sum of your parts. And that's obviously what needs to happen. And so speaking this afternoon, we're going to be talking much more with people about what that means to them, reflecting on the role of the partnership and helping us to achieve that ambitious change in the city. And so with that in mind, talking about the city change, I'd like to welcome Andrew Garrad, co-founder of Garrad Hassan and the chair of the Bristol 2015 Limited, to the stage to take us into the next section. Thank you.
Well, strangely, given what's just happened before our break, and there's been a lot of discussion about the European Green Capital, and I was the chair of it, Vicky told me not to talk about that, which is a great relief to me. So, so that was a surprise. I've been told to talk about business and sustainability. I don't know much about sustainability, but I know quite a lot about renewable energy. So I'm actually going to talk about business and renewable energy. I've been involved in renewable energy for about 35 years. I built my first windmill when I was 17 in 1971. And the change has been just gobsmacking. You know, when I was first involved commercially in wind energy, I could carry a windmill blade on my back. Now a big blade, which I hope is going to appear on the screen. Yes. A big blade now weighs 25 tons, is 80 meters long. That's the length of 9 double-decker buses. So that is just an incredible change that's taken place. Recently, we had a day of 100% renewables in Germany. We had no coal day, a couple of no coal days in the UK. The emissions of the power industry here in the UK have reduced from 170 megatons of CO2 in 2005 to 100 megatons of CO2 in 2015. That's a reduction of 43% in 10 years. 15 years ago, 3% of our electricity was produced by big hydro, a little tiny bit by wind. Last year, 25% of our electricity was produced by renewables. Now, that tells me, those figures, although they may be a bit dry, tell me that we can do it. In fact, we are already doing it. So this isn't just about what might happen, it's what's already happening and how we can continue. But we do need the right framework, which frankly at the moment we have a lamentable lack of political leadership anywhere, I would say, at least anywhere in the UK, with the Green Agenda. The Green Agenda didn't appear in the last general election at all, and that's absolutely scandalous. Bill Gates told us last year, and if you're talking about business, of course you have to listen to what Bill Gates has to say. Bill Gates told us last year that we needed an energy miracle. Well, actually, I don't think we do. I disagree with him. I don't think we need an energy miracle, because I think the energy miracle is already here with things like this and with the remarkable stuff that's going on with PV. All we need to do is to apply the miracle. 60% of the new installed capacity globally in electrical generation last year was renewables. Roughly 20% was fossil. Unlike conventional generation, renewables can involve everybody. It can involve you putting up, an individual citizen putting up a PV panel on their roof, and it can involve the huge multinationals producing the world's biggest rotating machines in huge arrays, producing the output of many power stations at ever-reducing cost. And at this point, I need to have a little diversion, a little excursion to Hinkley Point. To me, Hinkley Point is answering the wrong question. Hinkley Point is answering the question, just a minute, how did we produce electricity in the last century? Oh, I remember, nuclear fission. That's the wrong question. The right question is, how do we produce electricity this century and in the future? And the answer, of course, is renewables, all sorts of renewables. And that reply is not just based on some sort of environmental ideology, it's also based on good business sense. Every business now, and a lot of you are here, but there's lots more that aren't, should be looking at how to green their business, to look at the opportunities, not the environmental issues, they're a bonus, really, but the business opportunities of being in the green industry. That very point is illustrated by GE, by Siemens, by Alstom. They all make huge windmills. They also all make all sorts of other stuff as well. The Big Six, the much derided Big Six, are all deploying large amounts of renewable energy all over the world. Some people may disapprove of that. I don't care a damn. The more we have of that, the better. And if the way you get it is to get people to make money out of it, so be it. It's business. And it's actually much, much more important that people can see a real business case in this. And therefore they do it, and they can do it fast, given the right framework. These businesses can work very, very fast, particularly in renewables. And we need to be fast. We don't have the luxury of thinking about this much longer, any longer, I would say. In the 2015 Climate Change March, which we held here along with a lot of other places in 2015, before COP, I had a chance for quite a remarkable little vignette. I was walking along in the march in the strong wind, which I was very keen on, and in the pouring rain, not so keen. In front of me, there were two guys talking. And they were conversing constructively, I would say, but animatedly. And I looked a bit closer. On the back of one of them's jacket was emblazoned the words, "Smash Capitalism." Fine. And then I took a look at the one, his mate that he was talking to, and emblazoned it equally boldly, but this time on the baseball cap, were the magic words, "Goldman Sachs." And I thought, well, this is what this is about. This is a remarkable partnership with a common cause. So you can approach it from all sorts of different directions, and it really doesn't matter. I'm an engineer, and I think we do pretty well rising to challenges. You may not always approve of the solutions which we produce: cars, aeroplanes, channel tunnel, lasers, phones. For me, of course, recently, the major developments in photovoltaics and in wind. But we will rise to the challenge, and we can rise to the challenge, so there isn't a technical problem. Somehow I need to bring this back to Bristol. I thought, well, engineering, and of course engineering in Bristol means Brunel. And I think Brunel would be extremely irritated if he were to see some of the things that are done in his name. I'm a burger bar, pub, what else? A few pubs, actually. And then I saw a double glazing, and I saw actually, just the other day, what was it called? A love space, Brunel Love Space. Well, I'm not sure he would have approved that, but he would have grasped the nettle of renewable energy with great enthusiasm. And he would have done things on a major scale with other people's money. True entrepreneur. So I think we should be working in his name. Bristol punches above its weight. We should, of course, do all the things we need to do practically here. We don't have space. We don't have space to do a big wind farm in Bristol. We do have space to have rooftop PV. We do have space for district heating. We could involve more people, more of the regions around us in doing things. We do have the 7. What we do have is amazing intellectual capital, which we need to use. Bristol punches way above its weight in that respect around the world. We appeared in COP21 in Paris as a city when the UK as a country was absent. And that was a very important statement to make. Bristol, cities act and countries talk. We should do the action. And we should be using our intellectual capital to do developments elsewhere in the world. Bristol is a centre for this type of work globally, and we should build on that. We're a Brunel city, we're an engineer's city. Let's make him proud of us. Brunel would definitely have been a member of the Bristol Green Capital Partnership. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. That's fine, I'll do that. Andrew meant to introduce Joy Carey from Food Policy Council and Bristol Food Network. Joy.
I'm just nervous because there's a computer here. Do I need both of these? Okay, so good afternoon, everybody. In 2010, Bristol Green Capital, then 3 years old, so that was Alistair Sordate era for historians, hosted a meeting in Stokes Croft and invited responses to the findings of the peak oil report. My own proposal was a study called Who Feeds Bristol towards a resilient food plan. And it got the most votes that day. Thank you very much, everybody. That work, and with support of the Bristol Green Capital Partnership, has continued ever since. And food is now included as one of the 5 key themes of the partnership. So last year, Bristol won a National Sustainable Food City Silver Level Award for our collective achievements. And last year we were just one of 2 cities to get this award. It's downloadable from the Bristol Food Policy Council website, and there's a couple of copies here. The award celebrates the success of Bristol's work on a joined-up approach to food and recognises the achievements in 6 key areas. We were able to win this silver award, firstly, thanks to the amazing range of activities from some 123 groups, organisations, institutions, businesses around the city. And secondly, thanks to our work over the years on the Bristol Good Food Plan, through partnerships, planning, work on policy, again with significant support from Bristol Green Capital Partnership, particularly these sorts of events, so giving us a chance to speak with more people about where we're going, what needs addressing. So this year, we've been invited to determine what gold status Good Food City might look like, along with the other gold city, Brighton. So the criteria for gold is not yet set, and we've been invited to participate in the process of determining what that is, and in particular, to identify areas of food excellence. One thing we do know about that gold is that any area of food excellence needs to be firmly embedded, either in council policy or in policy of other organisations. We're not just talking about temporary change, and it is also very much about collaboration. So they're looking for collaborative effort for that. So we already have a big vision. If you are familiar with this, there's a vision stated in the first page. Do have a look. There's a couple of copies at the back. It's for ambitious change, and we need to go much further. So the food system is directly related to issues around climate change, jobs, local economy, our health, our neighbourhoods. As a city, we can use food-related activities to make a much better contribution to some big outcomes that really are concerning us, like reducing obesity, like ensuring that no one has to choose between food or heating their home, creating new food-related career pathways, improving green infrastructure in our neighbourhoods for improving climate change resilience, and supporting livelihoods of our regional food producers. They're all things that we can do from the city. So one of our biggest challenges is to involve many, many more people. That theme is coming up here today. We think it's achievable, and here are just some ideas building on things that we already know are going on. So key area of the city, jobs, skills and education. Food businesses, as Mohammed introduced earlier, could also contribute efforts to offer work placements and apprenticeships to young people and allow them to embark on food-related careers that pay decent money. What if all Bristol's food businesses used recyclable packaging, and our very many city events and festivals signed up to a good food code to cover both the actual quality of food served at events, but also the types of packaging used? Packaging is a massive issue, as we know. What if all the large institutions use their buying power even better than they're doing now to procure more food from the region and from national suppliers that could lead to hundreds of new jobs? And there is evidence from a study that we did with North Bristol Health Trust and their local sourcing that it really does create jobs. Our universities could become national leads and develop their own whole university food policy action. So covering their own catering, on-site food production, but also looking at innovation, maybe food waste innovation, healthy city food culture supported by fresh food markets. We know that this is happening, but it's not enough, universities, so call to you guys. And it's brilliant what has happened, but there's so much more we could be doing. What if every GP surgery referred patients to local community kitchens and community gardens for healthy lifestyle and wellbeing activities? So building on the success of one of the 2015 pilot projects, Kitchens on Prescription. In 2011, a while ago now, 10 wards out of 35 in Bristol had no greengrocer. They move about, but we know that access to fresh, good quality, nutritious food is very much an issue for certain parts of the city. Some areas have got too many supermarket outlets, some areas have no food shops at all. There are at least 45 active community food growing groups, plus over 30 mini edible gardens created by Incredible Edibles, some out there. In 2015, we estimated that Bristol's community food growing sites, so that's not the allotments, just the community food gardens, were growing on the equivalent of about 36.5 football pitches. So for comparison, Bristol's City Council's own land for small holdings and allotments farms is about 600 football pitches. So if we had a citywide communities growing food but with nature, really clearly with nature campaign, we could increase community food growing but also pollinator populations, biodiversity, and contribute to a much stronger green infrastructure, flood resilience, air quality and air temperature regulation, and generally turn Bristol into a more beautiful city. So we know that's happening. We know there are the bits we could do better by collaborating. Bristol's now on the food destination map thanks to some of our amazing chefs and retailers. More visitor promotion could definitely be done. The Food Connections Festival has been a great way of trying to highlight more of what's going on here in Bristol. But we could still learn much more from our chefs about what taste and quality really means, where our food comes from. Bristol restaurants could visibly lead on reducing food waste. Just the simple act of taking a doggy bag home is a really easy one. And of course, it's not just the chefs. So we've heard earlier from Kalpna, Bristol's diverse communities and Green and Black ambassadors have been contributing to the city's food culture, inspiringly led by 91 Ways and Partners. And with more support, there's definitely potential for new catering enterprises to come out of these, and many other, not just catering, I'm sure. So my own personal interest is in creating systemic change. That's what I really care about. And if we're serious about shifting up a gear with this going for gold, collectively, we need to be clear about what changes we want to concentrate our efforts on and really work out how we can measure that. We talked about that earlier. It's an ambition of the partnership. So understanding city-wide change in itself is an area of food excellence. I'm sure each one of you could suggest many other areas of excellence. I know some of you in this room already leading some really new innovative stuff that I haven't mentioned. The question I'd like to leave you all with is, what areas of food excellence would you like Bristol to be known for in the future, and what would you personally like to either lead, you are already leading, or would you like to get involved with? So please come and talk to us at the stand at the back there. We've got some post-its. And I'd also like to shamelessly invite you, if you want to do something straight away. Bristol Food Network is part of the Better Bristol crowdfunder, and we just need £980 by 2:30 p.m. on Sunday. It's on the crowdfunder website if anyone could help. That's to do with open gardens, so community gardens open to the public, and we want to try and build that into much more social prescribing, getting more people out, healthy lifestyle actions. So I'd like to invite you all to get involved in this Going for Gold. Jackie, we have a coordinator now. Jackie, put your hand up. She's part-time and here for a year, but she's a brilliant resource, so please do have a chat if you'd like to get involved. Thank you. Sorry I went over time.
Thank you, Joy. This is the bit where I just run on and off stage to introduce people. It's cardio. Sarah Moore is next to speak to us, and she's the Director of Fundraising, Membership and Communication for Avon Wildlife Trust.
Hello. Nature's nice, isn't it? These flowers and things here are very nice, making the stage very green and lovely. All of these plants actually are grown from seed collected from Avon Wildlife Trust's nature reserves. We look after 30 of them across the region of Avon. Our nature reserves are about connecting green spaces across the region to support wildlife to be able to move and thrive and breed. The State of Nature report that was released at the end of last year mentioned how over 50% of all UK wildlife is in serious decline. Now, I love these words that conservationists use. I'm not a conservationist. I don't come from a conservation background. And if something's in serious decline, I sort of think, oh, that doesn't sound very good. But actually, if a conservationist says to you something's in serious decline, that means it's in serious shit. Like, it's really, 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 really struggling. And then 15% of those things that are in serious decline are actually threatened with extinction from our UK shores. So that's like UK wildlife that we totally take for granted. Hedgehogs, little fluffy dormice that, you know, they're so rare you have to have a license to even touch a dormouse now. Bumblebees. So plants like these, which are collected, they're grown from seed that's collected from our nature reserves at Feed Bristol, which in a greenhouse, mainly by people who are recovering from life-limiting mental health issues. These wildflowers are what we care for, along with wetlands and ancient woodland on our nature reserves, making connections. Tess in the back there put these plants on stage earlier. Thank you, Tess. But we're not only about plants and creatures at Avon Wildlife Trust. Actually, we are really about people. We are really about connections. We're really about bringing people from all walks of life, all interests, all backgrounds, all beliefs together to spend time in nature, to notice nature, and to understand why we really need nature. Our vision at the Wildlife Trusts is living landscapes, living seas, and a society where nature matters. And nature really does matter. You might not think it's connected, but 1 in 4 people now suffer from a mental health issue. 1 in 10 children suffer from a mental health issue. Less than 50% of our children play outside in wild spaces on a regular basis. People are forgetting how to go outside. People don't know what to do. People don't know why you'd bother to go for a walk. What would you do on a walk? Like, where's the activity sheet? You know, got stuff to do on my screen. Don't, you know, horseflies, smelly. No. Someone I work with said a friend of hers, a good friend of hers, wouldn't go into her garden and shut her shed door because there was a bush in the way. She was like, what do you think's going to happen to you? She's like, well, the bush, I don't want it to touch me. It was just like, okay. Just like, how can you be my friend? Anyway. So it's not funny, though. It's really serious. It's a real crisis. And the thing is that we really do need nature. Nature underpins absolutely everything that we do. So at Avon Wildlife Trust, we're really interested, I am particularly interested, coming from an international development background, in how white and middle class conservation, the communities that conservation serves, tend to be, unless we're doing kind of outreach. So we held a meeting very nicely and helpfully supported by Vicky and Claire and Ian at the Bristol Green Capital Partnership in the fabulous meeting facilities in Barton Hill Settlement. They've got an amazing penthouse meeting room at Barton Hill. And the mayor joined us, and we had a room of people that I don't think that room of people have ever been together before in Bristol to have a conversation. So it was people from the nature charities, people from conservation groups, National Trust, the Wildfowl and Wetlands Trust, and then smaller organisations, and then lots of people from the community leader groups, so from people from Easton and Lawrence Hill, who are working with communities and families, and people in the Black and Asian minority ethnic communities in Bristol. So nature is for everyone. We're really interested in kind of what people are doing out in nature and why we don't know about it and how we can help people do more. It turns out there's tons of stuff going on. Lots of people are very interested and are doing things in nature. The problem is the connections, the communication. So that conversation in that room was loudly people saying, we're really interested, we want to know what you're doing, we want to go out, we have some challenges. Young black men are most likely to be stopped by the police. So we as mums, we don't particularly want to encourage our young men to go down the park and hang out because it's not really safe. And as Jazz and Zakiya, who we're also working with, were mentioning earlier, if you've only got one pair of shoes and one coat and you've got to wear it to school every day and to the parties that you've been invited to by your friends at school, and out onto a muddy nature experience, that's just not going to work. So there are some barriers there. But broadly, people are really interested. And so the challenge for us, I think, is understanding how we can build forums and create spaces for everyone in our city to come together and communicate. So, there we were in Barton Hill. The Barton Hill settlement is thriving. It's a really great meeting place in the city. How many of you have ever used it? Feed Bristol, good. Feed Bristol, good, well done. Feed Bristol up in Stapleton. It's boundaried by the M32 and 2 other really busy roads. It's an amazing facility for outdoor meeting spaces. We had 72 people from the Environment Agency up there yesterday getting dirty, having a great time. Please come and use the space, come and look at it. But equally, we need to think about, we need to go to the places, we need to go to the people, we need to go to the communities and have conversations in other parts of Bristol, in fascinating, culturally rich and diverse, and sometimes filthy. I mean, the rubbish and the dog poo is horrible in Easton and in Lawrence Hill, and you just think, why? This is just ridiculous. A city as wealthy as Bristol should not have areas like this where families and young children, literally, people at my kids' school, they're spray painting dog poo on the pavement with neon spray to highlight the fact this wouldn't happen in Clifton. So, I've written a blog which tells a bit more about the meeting that was facilitated by Bristol Green Capital Partnership. We really hope to keep working with them. They provide an amazing resource for us because we are a small, challenged a resource-challenged charity in the city, and the support that they provide us for holding events and just enabling us to bring people together. So that event in Barton Hill was in partnership with the Bristol Multi-Faith Forum, with the Black to Nature project and the partnership. And broadly, our vision for Bristol, Avon Wildlife Trust, is a nature-rich city. We have the opportunity to do something, to build on kind of all of this wonderful energy that exists here. Nature is the foundation. Without it, we are all there's no future. All of the projects that you're doing are wonderful, but without a healthy, thriving natural world, there's no point doing any of it. So please, do support us. Do come and visit our different places. Come and volunteer. We had 46,000 hours of volunteering last year at all sorts of beautiful places across the city. And we look forward to working more with people in the city, more with the partnership, and to trying to see how nature can really act as a leveller, a connector, and a hub for Bristol's communities to actually come together and enjoy meeting each other and learning more about each other. Thank you.
Thank you. So obviously in that section we had 3 speakers, so with at least the same amount of applause that you gave the cake on your table, and hopefully more, if we could have another round of applause for Andrew, for Joy and for Sarah for that section. Thank you. Another thing I think is very important to remember this afternoon is that we've heard lots of examples of what has happened through the partnership and some of the learnings through those and aspirations for future things, but it's worth bearing in mind that we're only able to look at such a tiny sample of things that the partnership has done. There is so much more that's going on underneath the activity of the umbrella of the partnership, and I think that's worth remembering. And in fact, even from my own perspective, I was originally going to try and give some examples of things that At-Bristol has done with the partnership, but I found it really hard, not because there were so few, but there were so many. So much of what At-Bristol does now in sustainability is linked to partners and relationships that came about through the partnership. In fact, when you're leaving the building later on through the foyer, look to your right, you'll see there's a robot on the wall, and the robot is creating artworks every day, and the artworks are based upon live data coming from the solar panels above you. That robot is based on a prototype built by an inventor called Matt Venn, and that original robot came about through the partnership and through the engagement group and funding we had for that. So all around this building and the bit outside with the energy tree and the tap into Bristol, our site physically has been changed by projects that only would have happened through the partnership. I'm sure you all have numerous similar examples. If you trace them back to where they started, they were conversations and projects and skills and funding that came as a result of this partnership. And so with that in mind, obviously, as we look to the future now, and when I say look to the future, I very much look forward to welcoming you back in 2027 for our 20th anniversary party. Now we're going to close by hearing about reflections on the partnership vision and the role that the Bristol Green Capital Partnership can play in building the sustainable city we all want to see. And of course, we're going to hear that from Ian Townsend, the Chief Executive of Bristol Green Capital Partnership, CIC. Ian, thank you.
Hi everybody. Thank you to all of you for coming here today, for joining us for our 10th anniversary. It's been so great to hear so much from so many of you about the things that the partnership has done and been done under its umbrella. So I'm going to talk to you today about building a sustainable Bristol with a high quality of life for all. So 2017 is a year of big Bristol anniversaries. Transition Bristol and community radio station BCFM are, like us, both 10 this year. Sustrans and Bristol ferry boats are celebrating their 40th. So let's have a bit more time travel. Take a moment to cast your mind 40 years ahead. 30 years, sorry. By then, Bristol would have become a carbon-neutral city, where our activities overall no longer lead to carbon emissions. A low-carbon city has been central to the partnership's vision ever since its early days. Then, during 2015, Bristol adopted the bold goal of being carbon neutral by 2050, accelerating existing plans. Mayor Marvin Rees's election manifesto included this important pledge, and the council's corporate plan reaffirmed it last year. I believe this commitment will be our city's contribution to meeting the critical climate change challenge facing the planet. It offers a rallying point, and as the city's sustainability partnership, we must collectively advocate for the greatest possible ambition. In 10 more years' time from now, we'll be roughly halfway to that 2050 target, so we'll need to be well on the way to being carbon neutral by then. So on CO2 emissions from Bristol, this is the City Council area, a quick question for all of you. 2 options. First, put up your hand if you think we're not reducing emissions fast enough to get to zero on this measure by 2050. Okay, kind of half, maybe slightly more. And now hands up for those who think we're ahead of the game, reducing emissions faster than we need to. Not many. Thank you. Well, the picture is actually quite encouraging. So, on a widely used government indicator, Bristol's carbon emissions have fallen by 34% since 2005, which is substantially more than the 22% fall that would need to be on course to be zero on this measure by 2050. If you look at emissions per person, so we have a growing population in the city, these are down a remarkable 40% since 2005. In case you need any more good news, and this reflects a bit what Andrew was saying earlier, during one day last month, more than half of UK energy came from non-nuclear renewable sources. Another remarkable fact. As Andrew put it earlier, we can do it. So we've done well so far, but perhaps we've been picking the low-hanging fruit. Future progress will be much harder and require much deeper change. It means reconsidering, not now, not in 10 years' time, everything that we do and how we do it. It means action in almost every aspect of our lives. Now, Bristol is known for being unorthodox, for doing things differently. Kalpna said its distinctive spirit. Our partnership, I think, is a great example of this. It is widely regarded as being the largest of its kind in the world. We are fortunate to have built, over our first 10 years, such broad-based support, involvement and commitment across the city and beyond in the wider region, across sectors and across issues. To achieve the change we need to see, we must keep working together to be much more than some of our parts for at least the next 10 years. Being a truly sustainable city will mean more than being green. It means the environmental, being mindful of social and economic dimensions, and those dimensions also being mindful of the environment. Now, the partnership has been and will be focused on the environmental aspects of sustainability and carbon neutrality, but we will strive to work with others across the 3 dimensions of sustainability wherever we can. Now, I'm sometimes asked, what is the partnership? I think it's a really hard question to answer, but I say, well, this partnership is all of us. It's all of you here today and all of our 800 or so member organisations. We are all the partnership. And it will be all of our decisions and actions that will get us to 2050 and make Bristol a sustainable city with a high quality of life for all. What does that look like? It would mean Bristol was the UK's first city for sustainable energy. Britain would be, we'd be the Britain's sustainable food capital, as we heard from Joy earlier, and a city that is world-leading in active travel, the circular economy, and being nature-rich. This means much bottom-up action from all of our city's communities, businesses, and other organisations. But that action must account for those in our city who have the least resources, who are often most affected by environmental issues, particularly things like poor air quality. To succeed, it is imperative that we have an inclusive approach. Only if we are inclusive can we gain from the knowledge and skills that would otherwise go to waste, and ensure that all people benefit from the opportunities that would otherwise go untaken from this journey we are on. The partnership takes the for all in our vision very seriously in everything that we do. I'll give you 3 examples. Our support for the Green and Black Ambassadors, who we heard from earlier on. It's an amazing project. Enabling almost 50 communities across the city to participate directly in Healthy City Week 2016. And the Work Experience Programme that Mohammed, our chair, mentioned earlier for encouraging our diverse school children to take part in sustainability. But across all our activities, we engage inclusively across and within communities and to increase understanding and awareness of environmental sustainability issues in the city. Now, I realise there may be preaching to the converted here today on the actions that you, your organisations and businesses and others can take, but these include switching to renewable energy in your home or business, eating more locally sourced food and supporting local growing groups and community farms, cycling, walking and using public transport more often, and leaving the car at home, and supporting employees to do so. Recycling, reusing and reducing waste at home to create a zero waste Bristol, and advocating for the value of nature for the health and well-being of people and planet, and also buying and investing sustainably and ethically. We must all consider these choices in order for us to be carbon neutral by 2050. Now, we've heard so much today about all the activity in the city, that the central partnership team adds an additional layer. We help to deliver on our vision by developing, supporting and promoting an environmentally sustainable Bristol with a high quality of life for all. As we've seen throughout this afternoon, the partnership has taken various different forms over our 10-year journey. In its earlier years, our work was only made possible through the Bristol City Council support and the efforts of countless passionate and committed people and organisations. Particular thanks here to city leaders like Barbara Jank, who is here today, and Helen Holland for their support in the early days. Thanks to you all for contributing so much time, expertise, resources, often voluntarily, to help move us to where we are today. Thanks also to past coordinators of the partnership. I'm thinking Mark Leach, Darren Hall, and obviously Gary Top and Vicky. But in 2015, we formed a community interest company, a body to enable, to support, and to amplify the aims of the rapidly growing membership, as we heard from Liz earlier today. In 2015, we want to ensure our unique partnership became a central force in making Bristol sustainable, to ensure the good of the European Green Capital did not stop there. We heard earlier how some 2015 funding led in 2016 to 9 key city institutions stepping forward and to fund today's partnership. Thank you to you all. Representatives from these organisations and 2 directors elected from our membership and other directors also offer their time and expertise to help run and support our partnership, as Mohammed mentioned earlier. So thank you again to you for all of your support. That support has enabled our small team, myself, Vicky and Claire, to be here to help you. This afternoon shows that collaboration and collective action will help us to tackle the environmental challenges and realise our ambitions. That is why the Central Partnership Team is committed to supporting and amplifying our members' efforts and enabling you to share good practice, learnings, skills, and increase capacity and capability in the city. I want to highlight some of our recent activities and where these might go next. Our Better Bristol campaign has just raised over £60,000 of investment from the city by match funding against the initial £40,000 of initial grants. It also built members' crowdfunding skills to help their future fundraising efforts. Could people that are here today who've benefited or taken part in the campaign stand up and give us a wave? Oh, you don't have to stand up. Thank you all. As Joy mentioned earlier, the Get Growing Trail is looking for a final push of support, so if you can help, please do. We're now assessing that campaign, and after reflecting on those learnings, we'll explore future support options for small projects. We're obviously seeking city partners who might be interested in leveraging their resources, like in this way, to help make Bristol sustainable. So do get in touch if you're interested. Both of our 2 universities worked in 2015 with partnership members to generate more than 100,000 hours of student volunteering time. SkillsBridge exists to make connections between students and your organisation, a mutually beneficial exchange that brings additional support to you, internships, placements and volunteering, which will upskill and also inspire future change makers. The SkillsBridge team are here to speak to you with you today at Mingle and at every Mingle. Can you just give us a wave, SkillsBridge people? There we go. Thank you. I'm also pleased to announce that we will soon be joined by Amy Walsh as our new Bristol University Partnership Liaison Officer, who will also help to further bolster these connections. Amy, can you give us a wave? There we go. Now, Amy joins us from the Bristol University Students' Union, where she has a track record of linking the student body with partnership members. We'll also be joined next week for a 10-week internship by Thomas Haynes, a second year at UE, who was previously the sustainability lead for their student union. Is Tom here today? Yeah, here we go. Thanks, Tom. We're really looking forward to working with both of you, and you may all hear from them soon. So, Healthy City Week. Vicky? Yeah. Oh, sorry. There we go. Healthy City Week is now 2 years old, and already something of a city tradition. It emerged from our Health and Wellbeing Action Group and developed into a major multi-community event in 2016, enabled by the partnership and supported by Bristol Health Partners. Look out for our plans for October very soon, and opportunities to help develop and be part of an even more ambitious event next year. We also heard about Green and Black earlier, and we're really, really excited to be working with our Ujima Radio and Bristol University Cabot Institute colleagues and others on a multi-year programme. As they said earlier, your support will be welcome to help to realise the enormous potential impact of this remarkable project and bring our BAME communities and sustainability communities together, even closer together. And as Bristol looks into a clean air zone, will we bring together the various activities and initiatives that are happening in the city, trying to address the city's poor air quality, and help you, partnership members, to be part of the positive action. We want to enable more collaboration across issues so we can address them systemically and have the greatest impact. We will work to connect our 5 themes: energy, food, nature, resources and transport with the broadest range of city partners. We've heard from Joy today about Bristol's ambitions to be a gold sustainable food city. Look out for a business breakfast and social prescribing events at Healthy City Week soon. We also heard from Sarah about the programme that we've been developing with partners to better connect communities with nature benefits. Do stay in touch with that as it develops too. We're working with the Sustainable Transport Network and Sustrans to build on the vision that was outlined in 2016's Good Transport Plan for Bristol, which followed consultation with you, the partnership members. Our Waste and Resources Action Group is helping us move towards a zero-waste Bristol. We'll be seeking support for a groundbreaking report to galvanise the move to a circular economy in support of this aim. On energy, we held a major gathering to showcase the various different approaches across the city last year. We'll be looking to enable you, our members, to engage at the regional level with the new West of England energy strategy. Now, the additional layer I mentioned that the Central Partnership team offers also enables us to give voice to the city's environmental sustainability community. We want to build on the thought leadership that was shown in the Peak Oil, Who Feeds Bristol report and the Good Transport Plan. We will work at all levels to build an enabling environment in the city, regionally, nationally and globally. And I want to say here that we're grateful for the support of mayors past and present, Mayor Ferguson, who's here with us today, and Mayor Rees, who unfortunately wasn't able to attend us, but has been very supportive. We recently held a very well-attended Metro Mayor hustings that raised sustainability up the agenda of this entirely new level of government. We will soon meet with that Metro Mayor, and we'll also be looking to get members involved in the next stages of the regional plan for housing and jobs as they appear later this year. We also want to engage with businesses, so look out for news about our September Mingle with Triodos Bank. We also continue to advocate for the practical use of the UN Sustainable Development Goals, which were mentioned earlier, for Bristol, perhaps in the proposed city plan and dashboard, but working with city partners in a growing Bristol SDG alliance. Building on existing links, we will also want to share our experience here in Bristol with cities across the world and learn from them. So watch out for a really interesting event at the Festival of Future City in Bristol in October. We've also been working with city academics and other partners to assess the barriers to big change that we need to overcome in order to become a carbon neutral city through the Urban ID project. Those guys produced a huge timeline, which you can't miss, as it is right next door, next to the refreshments. And thanks also to Jane Stevenson for her contributions there as well. Please do take time to use the timeline to tell us about your ambitions in your area and how these relate to the goals that are on the timeline. Also soon, we'll be sending out a survey to all of our members, you here today and everyone else, to capture your views. So please look out for that survey and please do complete it. It will really help us to ensure that we can best represent your ambitions. Now, the partnership has a really clear value in building connections and collaborations, from our support for member organisations and grassroots activity right through to being a leadership voice. I think we achieve an outsized impact given our very modest size and resources. We have around 1% of the funding available to Green Capital 2015, but we have all of its ambition. So we're working to build a wider and more engaged membership, to bring in new funding partners so that we have the resources we need to ensure that we can pursue all the activities and all the avenues that can help make Bristol sustainable, and always work in collaboratively with others wherever we can. But we do need your support to secure the future of the partnership. Earlier, we asked you to share stories about your work and where the partnership has helped and where we could help you to do more. Now, we're asking you to say how you think you might be able to contribute to our work. It could be volunteering some time or skills, maybe a financial contribution, or supporting specific events, projects, or research, or perhaps something we haven't even thought of. And of course, if you're interested in our work, in any of the areas we talked about today, then just please do get in touch and get involved. Perhaps you could make a new commitment today, however small, to a sustainable, carbon-neutral Bristol, and share that story with other members through our new members blog on our website. Perhaps you could bring a colleague to a future green mingle. Maybe share our newsletter with a colleague or a friend and ask them to sign up. You could help support other partnership members with your own or your organisation's skills or expertise. Or perhaps your organisation can offer a work experience placement to a Bristol school children or an undergraduate student. Please take a moment today just to consider what you and your organisation might be able to contribute to our collective ambition. There are postcards on the tables and a big pink box somewhere. Where's the box? It will be out in a minute for you to put them in. Do share your thoughts with us. Don't forget to add your name and organisation, and we'll follow up with you soon. And please do come and speak to me with my teammates and our directors. We're all well labelled, but could you all give us a wave? Stand up perhaps now to say, yeah. We have a number of people in the room. There we go. So if you see us anywhere, please speak to us. Thank you, guys. So just before I finish, I'd like to say some really important thank yous for today to all the organisations that have supported today. We have At-Bristol for hosting the event and the support of their staff team, including Chris for comparing throughout today's event. Greenhouse PR for their support. Arup for their sponsorship of the Mingle later on this evening. To Total Produce for their food that they're providing to the event today. To Mark's Bread, who did the cakes. There we go. And to our volunteers and a huge number of individuals and organisations who've given their time and support to help plan today, to contribute a display or an activity, and to speak as part of the programme. It's been a real team effort with many members of the partnership, and it's really important that we recognise that here today. A special mention, of course, to the plants on the stage that we have here from the Feed Bristol project, thanks to the Avon Wildlife Trust and Feed Bristol, and also the litter sculpture, which has been made by students at the University of Bristol with Literati and Clean Up Bristol Harbour. Also, Also to the If Not Now digital team. I'm sure you'll have been following today's events on social media, and a video of today's event will be on our website soon. To all the speakers and exhibitors, please enjoy the market outside during the Mingle. And of course, thanks to all of you, the audience, for being here to celebrate the partnership's work. Thanks to you all. So one last thought before we break. Looping back to what Mohammed said right at the beginning of today. Cities are increasingly in the front line for climate change and environmental sustainability. They're picking up the baton that national governments seem to keep dropping. Look at how the US cities and businesses stepped up following the announcement to pull out of the Paris Agreement, an agreement that Bristol was there to help create and at which we made our carbon neutral pledge for 2050. Let's continue our journey over the next 10 years, developing our unique and special partnership here in this city of Bristol, which will then inspire the rest of the UK and the world. We look forward to working with all of you to realise our vision of a sustainable city with a high quality of life for all. Thank you.
Staying or arriving for this bit of the session. So I'm just going to start by introducing our sponsor for this evening. We're very pleased that Arup have stepped up, so thank you very much for being our sponsor. Paul, over to you.
Hello, it's quite strange being pointed out as being Arup. Hello, I am Arup. My name is Paul Cosgrove. I'm an energy consultant at Arup. I'm also, as discussed with someone else earlier, I'm also from planet Earth originally. I think that was a conversation that started before. Very glad to see so many people here. I know that you've been listening to lots of people talk all afternoon, so I'll try not to talk for too long. But as some of you will know, Arup in Bristol has been supporting the partnership for many years now, and we've been part of working with yourselves and others to see projects that have developed or been conceived and developed and starting to achieve some great things. And we're very happy to have been part of that and happy to be sponsoring this event tonight, which I think is looking to the future of where these projects go and how we work together. For those of you who don't know, I have to do this bit, Arup are engineering, planning and management consultancy. We're independently owned, so we also quite enjoy making decisions about what we do and where we work. And we've been in Bristol for over 40 years, so we've shaped quite a lot of the physical things you see, but we like to think that we've worked with people to shape some of the processes and the ways forward. And excited about continuing to do that. Within the partnership, I was fortunate to be involved in the Bristol Smart Energy Roadmap, led by Centre for Sustainable Energy with Simon Roberts, which was great, bringing lots of, for me, very diverse people together to share very different perspectives and ideas and way forward to solve the energy challenge with efficiency and really capturing the economic benefit. And for me, that opened a lot of, opened my eyes to seeing different perspectives. And I think that's a really important lesson for me of seeing how bringing a whole spectrum of the community together and different sizes and scales of projects to try and to make a difference and to support Bristol greening as we go forward. I was talking to a gentleman before about a project in Bristol where they're looking at trying to green a space in a very small project, and you know they're making some progress, but they have their challenges, and it really made me think about, you know, on the other scale we've got some very large projects that are going, and we live in this kind of world of things going viral, you know, and I think there's an inspiring future vision where enough small projects and enough small people are involved in viral projects. We're also talking to a few people who are setting up sustainable education resources, and you know, as we look at the timeline, we look towards 2050 and what a carbon neutral Bristol might look like. You know, we really have to ask ourselves as well, who are the people who will really make that happen, or indeed shape that differently to what their future needs. So yeah, I could probably wax lyrical all night on the different topics, but exciting times, and I think, you know, with education, how we look to perhaps, I was asked about what perhaps some of the kind of the topics or the ideas that we think about going forward, and for me, looking to nature, the very heart of green for solutions, and this kind of biomimicry renaissance that is starting to grow, which is old news, recycled, but you know, maybe our timeline as well, we need to look back quite far and look at how nature is solving some of these solutions and how we can learn from that. So yeah, exciting times ahead. Enjoy your evening, and I look forward to meeting some of you through the evening. Thank you.
Thanks, Paul. Right, the final bit of being spoken at is coming. I've been asked to say, please do go and contribute to the timeline which is on the wall here. We're a city of graffiti. Please go and add yours to that thing inside. Which brings me on to a really important point. Some of you may know that recently I've been trying to get elected. It hasn't been going that well for me. But this is one that I actually did win. Savita and I are both elected member directors on your behalf to the board of the CIC. And that's a bit of an issue really, because I won this election on 13 votes. Now, when you look at the turnout against a membership of 850 people, that's worse than UKIP. It really is. So we really, really need the members of the Green Capital Partnership to participate. The organisation is a members' organisation. Yes, there is a board with directors and a CIC, but it grew out of a community process. It is a community of action, a community of interest. So we desperately need you to participate. We are both your representatives. We are not on the board to spout our own views. We're there to reflect your views. So please do get in touch, do get stuck in and tell us what is the relevance of the Green Capital Partnership and what do you think its purpose should be. Because if we're going to hit that 2050 target, we absolutely need to create action. And that's my final challenge really, is that my role on the board, I see it as, is trying to pick off some of the things that we can actually do, that we can actually get done quickly and demonstrate what the green agenda is all about to people who perhaps aren't involved. So on behalf of Savita and I, please do chat to us, please do get in touch by email, please get involved in the partnership. Enjoy your evening, thank you very much.